Hi, dear friends. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Quiet Resonance, the channel that shares knowledge for comprehensive personal development through great books. If you are still being swayed by emotions like sadness, jealousy, fear, or anger, causing your mood to plummet and leaving you unsure how to cope, if you still make many mistakes and feel regretful, expressing hurtful words after outbursts of anger, then the book we discuss today will be a great choice for you. This is the book I've tentatively translated as The Power of Emotions, Love, Anger, Joy. The philosopher and thinker Wang Yangming once said, "It's easy to deal with the 8 bandits on the mountain, but it's difficult to handle the 8 bandits in the heart." The bandits in our hearts, in essence, are the 7 emotions and 6 desires. According to Buddhist teachings, the 7 emotions are 7 different shades of human emotions. The 6 desires refer to the 6 worldly cravings. This book discusses the 7 emotions of humanity, analyzing the 7 types of emotions that accompany us from birth until now. Emotions are a flowing stream of energy within us. If you live in harmony with them, you can easily take control of your own life, understand emotions to better interpret them, empathize with others' emotions, while still protecting your own. From there, you can turn emotions into a strength to face life positively. The author of this book is the renowned psychiatrist from France and the United States, V.C.R. Lay. He is also the author of the globally best-selling psychology book, Self-Healing, and Hector and the Fascinating Journey to Find Happiness. This is another highly famous book of his. The book I'm introducing today was co-authored with the French psychiatrist and psychologist, Christopher. Now, let's explore what these 7 emotions are. Remaining calm amidst all fluctuations, isn't that a wonderful thing? The author says that if there were a drug called Amour, a medicine that allows you to stay calm in any situation, no matter what trouble you face, your outward appearance would remain unchanged, and you could respond calmly with a heart as still as a placid lake. You wouldn't be easily swayed by mundane emotions. Isn't this the kind of medicine that helps us achieve the goal of cultivating a peaceful mind and serene spirit? So, would you want to buy this pill? However, the author adds that before deciding, you need to understand its side effects. First, without the influence of emotions, you would become indifferent to life. Second, because you're not affected by emotions, you no longer feel hurt, which could lead to dangerous behaviors for yourself and others. Third, your memory declines, and your judgment weakens. Fourth, you face difficulties and obstacles in connecting with others. At this point, would you still want to take this pill? You'll see that emotions cause us a lot of suffering, but on the other hand, they also add flavor to our lives and allow us to build deep connections with others. In reality, emotions are a source of motivation for us to express ourselves to the world, and they are also the most primal energy within us. You need to understand and manage your emotions to harness their power. First, we need to have a basic overview of emotions. Emotions consist of 3 main components: physiological, cognitive, and behavioral. They are a flowing energy, moving from a calm state to an aroused one, causing physiological reactions in the body, such as increased blood pressure, elevated heart rate, or rapid breathing. Then, emotions affect how you think. When angry, you may narrow your focus and concentrate only on what's making you mad. When sad, you might not escape the thing causing your sadness and start thinking negatively. Finally, emotions lead you to react and act. Now, let's dive into the details of each fundamental emotion. The first emotion, one that probably troubles many people daily, is anger. You'll notice that many people, when angry, lose control and engage in behaviors like smashing objects, slamming doors, or even being aggressive toward others. On the other hand, some people, when angry, choose to suppress it, swallowing their rage and not expressing it outwardly. However, when facing anger, both exploding and suppressing are mistakes. The right thing to do is to confront it directly, understand the anger, and then resolve it. But to understand it, we need to ask, why am I angry? The causes of anger may seem complex, but they can be summarized as follows. First, you're angry because you don't want something to happen. Second, you might be angry because someone intentionally caused something to happen. Third, the thing making you angry contradicts your values. And finally, the most important factor. You're angry because you know you can control the situation and allow yourself to be angry. For example, if you're walking in a forest and suddenly encounter a tiger, would you be angry? Of course not. Most people would be terrified because they know they can't control the situation. But on the other hand, Wu Song is different. He could control the situation with his anger. Think about it. Often, you get angry and yell at someone because you know you can control them. Even if you say something harsh, you believe that person won't leave you or do anything to you. But remember, no one is indispensable to you, not even those closest to you or your most trusted employees. Remember, those who allow you to be angry are either people who truly love you or those who fear you. As long as there's fear, the other person will never be fully sincere or open with you. Do you want a relationship like that for your entire life? The solution here is to look within yourself. The author provides methods to help you deal with anger as follows. First, you need to learn to dialogue with yourself, questioning the ingrained beliefs that make you think others must act according to your wishes. Are these beliefs entirely reasonable? Second, after understanding why you're angry, try to reduce the factors causing your rage. For example, if someone at work constantly makes things difficult for you and frustrates you, instead of just stewing and seeing flaws in their perspective, it's better to find ways to improve the situation, change yourself to eliminate the factors that annoy you. To do this well, next, you need to learn to think from others' perspectives. According to Buddhism, all anger stems from a higher level of ego, meaning, I feel I'm very important, my attitude, my values, my self-esteem are the most important. When you feel you're particularly important, many things will make you angry. But when you can learn to put yourself in others' shoes, understand why they think the way they do, and consider whether it's necessary to be so angry, you'll find a way to master your anger at that moment. The fourth point, don't attack personally. When the spark of anger begins to ignite, focus only on the other person's behavior, not labeling their character. For example, instead of saying, "Why can't you do anything right?" a way to express anger without attacking others is, "You didn't do this correctly." Fifth, consider carefully before expressing. When angry, don't immediately speak out, send a text, or post your mood on social media, and so on. Give yourself time to calm down. Conversely, don't casually agree to things with someone when you're particularly happy. Sixth, give the other person some time to express themselves. Perhaps they didn't mean it, and the issue might not violate the principles that make you angry. Seventh, walk away if you can't control your rage. The best way is to turn around and leave. For example, when furious with your child, you can say, "Mom needs to calm down right now. Let Mom rest for a bit." Then, go outside or to another room and sit for a while. This is also a great way to control your anger. And the final way to manage anger is to learn to let go. Don't cling too tightly to every thought. Truly, when you look back, you'll see nothing is insurmountable, and nothing is too overwhelming. When you can accept everything that happens, your anger will naturally subside. On the other hand, an equally important issue is that many people lack anger, meaning they suppress their anger excessively. I should always control my emotions. Otherwise, others will see me as immature. I must never hurt others, or I'll feel guilty. These are actually beliefs imposed on you by others since childhood. They prevent you from getting angry but lead to depression. As the book Truth Work, which I've shared before, mentions, if you don't have a way to express your anger, it can lead to serious psychological issues, even physical illnesses. The best approach, instead of saying, I must always control my emotions, or I can only be angry when I'm 100% right, is to think, it's right to be angry when I have a reason, but I have the right to make mistakes. Please don't be too harsh on yourself. Or, instead of saying, I need to appear friendly, or people won't accept me, affirm to yourself, I hope people accept me, but I don't need everyone to like me. These are the insights about the first emotion, anger. The next emotion is jealousy. In reality, there's no standard expression for jealousy, as it's rare to determine someone is jealous just by looking at their face. Jealousy is an inner drama with a tearing sensation inside. For example, when visiting a friend your age, you notice you both come from similar backgrounds, and they might have even performed worse than you in school, yet now they have a luxurious house and a prosperous family. On the surface, you're calm as a river, but inside, your heart is turbulent and begins to feel sad. Some might think, I'm being envious, but in reality, this is jealousy. Envy is different. According to psychology, jealousy focuses on the happiness and material wealth of others, while envy is when you realize something you want to possess forever is at risk of being taken by someone else. I'll explain envy more later. This book explains that, typically, people experience 3 types of jealousy. First is depressive jealousy. People with this type of jealousy, when seeing others progress beyond them, often think, this good thing will never happen to me, or I'm so unlucky. These emotions make you want to withdraw. The second type is hostile jealousy. A typical sign of this type is, someone like them accomplished this? People with such emotions believe no one can surpass them, so they find ways to criticize, gossip, or tarnish the other person's image in others' eyes. The third type is admiring jealousy. They're truly talented, so getting promoted is normal. I'll work harder myself. This third type is a relatively healthy form of jealousy. Thus, there's good jealousy and bad jealousy. If your jealousy is positive, it motivates you to improve, but if it's negative, you might harm others. Jealousy can be a driver for progress, but it also needs management, especially depressive and hostile jealousy. If jealousy causes you pain and saps your spirit, you need to reflect and manage it. So, how do we manage it? The first step is to honestly admit your jealousy. For example, the house you bought is the one I've dreamed of. Living in such a cozy home must be so wonderful. I'm really jealous of you. Saying this will make you feel much more at ease, and the other person will feel the same. The second step is to express jealousy positively. Genuinely feeling happy for them from the bottom of your heart is a way to express emotions with high energy. For example, I know buying a house isn't easy. This is proof of your hard work over the years. I'm truly happy for you. The third step is to check if you're thinking you're inferior. For instance, my friend is so great, but what about me? Am I trying to improve or regress? People with such thoughts always want to show their best side to others, but you need to know that this is the factor causing unnecessary jealousy within you. For example, my friend is so great, but what about me? Am I trying to improve or regress? People with such thoughts always want to show their best side to others, but you need to know that this is the factor causing unnecessary jealousy within you. Conversely, check if you have thoughts of being superior. If your ego is too high, you'll feel you must be better than others, but in reality, when you don't achieve that, naturally, you'll bring suffering upon yourself due to this jealousy. If you still have such thoughts, you need to move to the fourth step: weaken the perceived superiority of others in your eyes. The superiority of others is actually a product of your jealous ego's imagination. The author believes that, in this world, there's truly nothing worth being jealous of. If you must be jealous, there's only one virtue worth envying: those who can create their own happiness. For example, a roadside mechanic who is joyful because he's doing what he loves. He feels happy. A person who can focus wholeheartedly on their work, helping others, that's the kind of person worth envying. I hope we can turn jealousy into motivation to strive for our own growth, not against others. Next, let's talk about the emotion of joy and happiness. There's a smile named the Duchenne smile, discovered by the French Dr. Duchenne. Did you know? Only those with this smile are truly happy and radiant with joy. It's a smile where the muscles around the eyes naturally contract. Reflect on how many times a day you smile so naturally. Joy and happiness are the emotions with the greatest impact on our lives among all emotions. Why can we say that? First, joy makes people generous. This has been proven through experiments, not just empty words. A psychologist conducted an experiment where participants, after completing a psychological test, walked outside and saw a beggar at the door. He found that those who felt amused and joyful during the experiment were more likely to give money to the beggar. So, does joy lead to generosity, or does generosity lead to joy? Here, the two reinforce each other. Therefore, be generous and give more, and surely, complete feelings of joy will come to you. Second, joy also makes us more creative and able to make better decisions, not hasty ones, but quality ones. Joy also makes you bold yet cautious. We often think, too much joy leads to folly, meaning that when people are overly joyful, they may act recklessly or take risks. That's not true joy, it's more like euphoria. In contrast, truly joyful people dare to act but do so more cautiously. Joyful people don't like monotonous tasks, they choose interesting, challenging ones. So, be ready to proactively take on tasks more difficult than others at work. This is also a way to make yourself a happier person at work, giving you more opportunities to grow. One thing to note here is that the author divides human happiness into 4 states from 2 dimensions. Let's explore which kind of happiness you need. First is the excited joy from external sources. You can understand this as elation. For example, in elementary or middle school, when you earned the title of an excellent student or won a competition, and so on. This feeling is common among teenagers. Second is excited joy from within. This is an Aristotelian state of happiness, the feeling of achievement when your life's goals are realized, when you gradually build your career and life with purpose and meaning, and ultimately achieve it, improving yourself in the process. Third is serene happiness from external sources. This is a feeling of contentment. For example, sitting in the garden with your partner, sipping tea, and watching your children play around you. This kind of happiness makes you quietly smile with deep satisfaction. Finally, there's serene happiness, called tranquility, when you understand your life's purpose and know that life is inherently as it is. Life is impermanent, and you calmly live and enjoy the process of experiencing it. These are 4 different kinds of happiness. Notably, they aren't ranked high or low, each type brings high energy. So, to enhance happiness, what do we need to do? First, you must ask yourself, which type of happiness is closest to my ideal happiness? What makes me happier now? What was my happiest moment? Which moments of happiness did I miss? Does what makes me happier depend on me? Always question yourself with such questions to stay on the right path. But you also need to pay special attention to what happiness needs and doesn't need. Happiness doesn't care about money or age. We often fear aging, thinking it's a terrible thing. But in reality, people tend to feel happier as they age. No study has proven that young people are happier than older ones. Older people can calmly tell the young, everything will pass. You should be happy because you're young and have many opportunities for everything. But young people don't think that way. Life's troubles cause them pain, and any blow is magnified infinitely. So, what does happiness depend on? To be happy, you need health. Even a small illness can instantly reduce your happiness. Happiness also depends on your personality. Check if you easily find joy and create happiness. Happiness also relies on the quality of your marriage and relationships. Be cautious and choose carefully before deciding to marry someone. Happiness also depends on your beliefs. What beliefs do you hold? If you only believe in money, you'll be more miserable. Lastly, happiness depends on your career and is influenced by family and friends. These are the factors a person needs to be happy. But you must remember, to feel happy, it's not about chasing things that satisfy you. As the author says, happy people are happy because they find happiness in every situation, not because the events or circumstances they encounter satisfy them more than others. Happiness is about being content within desires, staying clear-headed, and learning to be calm in the face of success or failure, pursuing the hope of both perfection and imperfection. Next, let's talk about sadness. In life, everyone goes through sad days. Some are criticized by their boss, some lose a pet, some fall ill, and so on. All these make people heartbroken. But in essence, all sadness shares a common trait: loss. Losing the trust your boss had in you, losing a companion dog, losing the ability to function normally, losing a relationship, losing your own sense of meaning, all are losses. They make you feel sad. We always prefer joy and fear sadness. But sadness exists to teach us to avoid similar situations. It makes you reflect on your actions, mistakes, and ignorance within yourself. It also evokes compassion from others and allows you to empathize with someone in pain. Sadness isn't as scary as we believe. So, don't let yourself lose balance. If you stay immersed in pain, it will consume you entirely. So, when you feel too sad, what should you do? The first thing is to accept it. People with spiritual beliefs and a deep inner life are very good at accepting and overcoming sadness. They believe sadness is cause and effect, karma, a lesson for themselves, a chosen path they must walk. With such beliefs, people can easily shift their perspective on pain, accepting it as merely an experience to recognize the value, lessons, and experiences behind it, helping you feel better. Additionally, you can cautiously express your sadness to someone you trust. Expressing cautiously means not turning it into repetitive complaining. Then, try to move forward by redirecting your focus. Look back at activities you loved in the past or things you want to experience. Actively shift your focus to those things, they'll help you escape the pain. If these methods don't help, seek assistance from experts or psychologists. Next, an emotion I believe many people have and hide is shame. Shame is the painful feeling of thinking you're inferior, inadequate, or looked down upon by others. From an adult's perspective, some forms of shame in children are unwarranted. Many young people think their parents are unattractive, dress shabbily, or work low-status jobs, riding rickety bikes, and tell their parents things like, "Don't pick me up at the school gate," or "Park the bike over there and wait for me," and so on. Surely, many will regret this when they grow up. So, why do we feel shame? It's when we fail to align with 4 principles that match those around us. The first principle is consistency. For example, if everyone in class rides scooters, but you have a cheap, less attractive manual bike, this difference can make some young people feel ashamed. The second principle is the lack of mutual support, meaning if your selfish actions are exposed to others, you'll feel ashamed. The book gives an example. On the first day, students moving into a dorm shared food brought from home. But one girl stayed behind when others went out, eating a cake her family prepared for her. Unfortunately, everyone returned just as she was eating, making her extremely ashamed. The third principle involves physiological issues. Every adult has felt this during puberty. Some are ashamed of maturing too early, others too late, some for being different. The final thing that causes shame is competitive pressure. For example, if the whole team has excellent monthly performance, but you don't, you'll feel ashamed. Shame has a typical expression across everyone: blushing, bowing your head, and lowering your eyes. Of course, shame has its role, and every emotion that follows us for years has its reason. Shame's function is to make others more lenient toward us. For example, while queuing to pay, if your bag of items falls and everything spills out, if you don't feel shame, you'll clean up calmly and slowly, making those behind you wait. You'll surely be scolded or blamed. But if you show shame, apologize repeatedly, and clean up quickly, others will empathize with you. See, shame helps us behave properly to the fullest. But conversely, shame has its downsides. For instance, excessive shame can make you unlikable or even ostracized. Especially for teenagers, if they always hunch over, bow their heads, and are extremely shy when meeting people, they'll gradually be excluded by the group. Worse, some people who aren't inherently insecure become victims living in shame. A typical example is victims of sexual assault. This still creates immense pressure for many because our inner dignity sets certain standards. Though society says you didn't do wrong and you're a victim, you still can't accept it inwardly. So, how do we manage shame so it doesn't become negative energy? First, express it. Once shame is voiced, it no longer weighs you down. French writer Anne Ernaux, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2022, famously said, "With shame, the worst thing is thinking only we feel it." But in reality, when you're ashamed, others can sense it. So, gently turn shame into embarrassment. Embarrassment is less severe than shame. Shame can invade you internally, but embarrassment can vanish with a smile. Also, for those who deliberately embarrass you, the best way is to reduce interaction with them. Some immature people project their inner fears and anger onto others, so they have a habit of humiliating others, making inappropriate jokes, or exposing others' flaws. When this happens, see through their emotions, empathize with such people, and give yourself a private space, not becoming a victim of shame. Finally, introspect your inner beliefs. Check if you're setting overly high standards for yourself. To turn inferiority into transcendence, you can read the famous psychology book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which Better Version has analyzed in detail, to understand feelings of inferiority and shame and how to turn them into extraordinary strength within you. Next is the sixth emotion, envy. This book analyzes envy as primarily appearing in romantic relationships, in love or marriage, often called jealousy. Envy or romantic jealousy arises when people feel their relationship is threatened to some degree. It can also signal a lack of confidence. When envy flares up in you, it comes with anger, fear, sadness, and sometimes shame. It's a complex and relatively negative emotion, but it has its own role. In primitive societies, where food was scarce, envy helped humans survive. If a husband lacked jealousy and allowed his wife to freely interact with others, the child they raised might not be his. Or if a wife allowed her husband to have relations with others, she might go hungry, as he'd need to feed other children. Even in modern society, with abundant food, we still easily retain envious feelings. It helps us maintain exclusivity with each other. Jealousy can also cause us pain. The three main traits of excessive jealousy are close monitoring, restricting the other's contact with others, and a belittling attitude. People with this kind of jealousy often have very low emotional energy. So, how do we manage envy? Like other emotions, the first step is to admit your envy and face it to find solutions. Then, ask yourself questions like, have you ever been hurt by a partner's betrayal? Were you hurt by your parents' deception? Do you feel you're not important or attractive enough to hold someone's heart long-term? Where does this bias come from? Such questions will make you think deeply. If envy still troubles you and your partner, seek advice from experts. Finally, give your partner some personal space. When you take away someone's space, the risks you initially feared don't decrease but may actually increase. Jealousy is a normal, natural emotion. Though it often devalues you, it's still a healthy part of psychology. If we manage and face it correctly, it adds a bit of spice to our lives. Finally, let's address the emotion people always try to avoid, fear. For adults, fear-inducing objects often fall into categories like animals, insects, rats, snakes. Some fear heights, others faint at the sight of blood, some fear public speaking, some fear confined spaces like elevators, others fear thunderstorms or water, panicking when water reaches their chest or nose, and so on. Why do we fear these? Because they all relate to dangerous origins from primitive society. They caused much harm to humans, so we fear them. But human fear isn't just innate from primitive society. Many fears develop later in life. For example, cultural fears like ghosts or demons, social fears like children fearing parents, students fearing teachers, or subordinates fearing superiors, and so on. These fears often stem from the need to avoid social alienation. Lastly, humans have fears from false beliefs in their minds, like fearing insecurity, a partner's betrayal, or scarcity, and so on. Thus, many try every way to control situations or fill their lives with material things. Ultimately, fear is an uncomfortable, joyless emotion. You surely don't want to live in fear daily. Some even overreact due to fear. When fear becomes negative energy, it causes anxiety and self-doubt. You'll need to manage it. So, how do we manage fear? The first thing, as the book repeatedly emphasizes, is to acknowledge and express your fear. Don't hide it when you're clearly scared. Honestly tell others you need help. Second, learn to grasp fear by preparing and gathering as much information as possible. For example, if you fear traveling alone to a new place, prepare all possible information about the trip. Knowing how you'll travel, where you'll stay, what you'll do, and so on, will reassure you. Fear will no longer block the strong energy within you. Next, learn to relax. When scared, your heart rate rises. At this moment, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, each inhale and exhale, to reduce the unease. Finally, face it. Here are some key principles to confront fear, summarized as: be brave, proactively engage with fear gradually and controllably. For example, if you fear crowds, try participating in small-scale public events first. If you fear an animal, like many fear cats, approach it slowly under your control. These are the 7 emotions that accompany us throughout our growth. I believe you'll recognize these emotions' presence. Behind them are reasons. You might be disappointed with life, dissatisfied with the present, anxious about the future, or feel unable to fit in with those around you, along with many other worries. Once you recognize the deeper reasons, you can easily tell your emotions, "I see you." By expressing them, you can face emotions most calmly, instead of being controlled by them. Thus, don't overly focus on time, circumstances, or others, forcing yourself to suppress emotions. You can fully release your negative energy in a timely, reasonable way, so each moment can immerse you in emotions, living in harmony with yourself and others. Understand emotions, express emotions, resolve emotions. This is the best way to calmly accept an imperfect self. Imperfection is true perfection. I hope both you and I can cherish and embrace all emotions, love ourselves fully, and bravely move forward. Thank you for listening. If you find this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch my latest videos weekly. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next videos.